setting up the screen to Eli Sanders. Gets one block, two blocks. Sanders high stepping and cutting it loose. Galloping for a Trojan touchdown. State field goal. He's going to hand it off to King Miller, and he breaks out. King Miller. Proud of him.
In this one in the fourth quarter is coming out healthy.
Longstreet looking for the pylon. He's got it.
And welcome, everybody, to the glorious episode of the Student Body Right USC Podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, and as always, I am podcasting off the beautiful shores of the Pacific Ocean. Beautiful day out here in Southern California. PORSPR is my Twitter handle, so check me out there. USC 73. Southern, Missouri State 13. They just absolutely manhandled this team from start to finish. Great job by everybody involved. And I just want to start off really quickly with the offense. I think the biggest question we have is about how Jayden Maiava is going to navigate this offense. How is he going to play? Is he going to show confidence? And, did they make a mistake not going after Nico or going after another quarterback in the portal and everything like that? And I think that what happened in this game was that you were able to see is that I understand that who the opponent is. I understand that you're playing Missouri State. I understand that this is not going to be this wasn't going to be a game where, you're going to take a lot away from it. What I take away from it was Jayden Maiava was a complete command of the offense. He didn't have any turnover-worthy plays. Should you have any turnover-worthy plays against Missouri State? Probably not, but it's game one. And there could have been mix-ups. There could have been a false start. There could have been, a receiver running in the wrong direction, and maybe you throw you anticipate that come back to be 8 yards opposed to something else, and then you could have called an out and up, and then he goes up, and then you throw the ball and you expect him to go short, and you throw a pick that way. Like there were some plays in that game where he could have made mistakes and he didn't. I thought the one thing I liked about Jayden in this game was his head didn't drop, didn't sulk when he missed Mekhi Lemon for a touchdown. They were at the 40-yard. They're at the 40-yard line, and they wanted to go a little. They wanted to go up over the top for a touchdown. He had Mekhi wide open. He kind of gunned it where he could have put some, relaxed and, gave it some air, let him run under it for a touchdown. And he didn't sulk or anything like that. He just came right back to the huddle, and then next play, and they still scored in that touchdown drive. That's what you want to see from your quarterback. Another analyzation, because I was at the game, the RPO action. He needs to use his legs. Otherwise, he's just a taller version of Miller Moss, and if that's the case. He used his legs. He ran on his own. He gave the ball to to the running back on a lot of those plays as well. USC ran for a whole bunch of yards in this ball game, and it's just that right there is what you want to see from a USC team at home against a lesser opponent. You want to make sure that you are just ripping big runs. You're making big plays in the passing game, and you're scoring on defense. I think that's right there is kind of what we expected to see. But if anything less than what we saw yesterday would have been something that us as USC fans would have criticized. And everything off season that we talked about with Jayden Maiava and all the coaches talked about Jayden Maiava all came to fruition in that for 1 week, because he really knew that offense. He was in command, and you can see him on the sidelines. He was a leader. And that's the biggest part of it. Are we going to see a different side of him? Maybe maybe he's always been a leader, but then you're in a situation where you're taking over mid-season for Miller Moss, who was a very popular player at USC. Now you're the guy. Now you're the guy who is the number one quarterback at SC. How is that going to transpire? Like, how are you going to lead this team? There's times where you gotta talk to your skill position players, talk to your offensive line. How is he going to handle that? And at least for 1 week, that looked really good. And I thought that was really cool. Him on the sideline, just doing the wave or whatever. With all the players on the sideline, just being that being that teammate where when you're the quarterback, you're going to get all the buzz, you're going to get all the blame as well too. But when you are involved with everybody and you're a quarterback who, the last man on the roster can come up to Jaden and say, "Hey, how you doing?" and have a conversation with you, and they're not intimidated by that. That's part of becoming you know an every down guy in the locker room as well. That anybody feels like they can come up and talk to him, and he can hold the conversation with them and be that guy who has to be the extension of the head coach, if you will. And I think for this week, Jaden definitely has done a lot of good things in this game, and we'll see what happens down the road as far as leadership and everything like that goes. But like he looked completely in control, and he looked all the part in this game because Jaden Mayava has all the tools. So we'll see if that continues um, coming up this season. So we have this running back room is pretty interesting. It's interesting. It's going to be a joy to watch, I think, this year. Um, and Wayman Jordan is going to be something else. He has that forward lean. He has that get out of a phone booth ability to jump cut and do all those things like that. He has all those things in the pad leverage, if you will. He's not going to be a guy who, like, when you see him in the open field and there's one guy, linebacker, safety, cornerback, whoever, that guy is not bringing him down. Like, he's going to get out of that tackle, and you're going to need to go get some friends to get him down. And then you sprinkle a little Eli Sanders, who somebody in our USC chat talked about him running like Pacheco. He runs like Pacheco from the Chiefs, but he's just faster. And he has that ability to just like, I use some of his highlights, and I was looking at Darren Sproles, and that's who his impact on his offense is going to be, like a Darren Sproles. He might touch the ball 3 times and have 3 touchdowns. Like that. That's the kind of crazy speed he has, and his ability. Once he sees a little bit of a lane, he knows that's all he needs to score a touchdown, and he did that on Saturday. And also King Miller. I definitely want to mention King Miller as well. King Miller was a guy who Lincoln Riley kind of singled out, so that he has the most yards per carry in the practices and everything like that. And I thought that was a telling thing there as well. A guy who he was that 70-yard run was phenomenal. And he looks like a guy who, if somebody went down for a couple of weeks, he could definitely come in and make some plays as well for SC. Good to see the tight ends get involved. Tabarucci score a touchdown late and then early. What about Lake McCree? Lake McCree did a great job on that 60-yarder. Was able to evade one guy, and then after that he was gone for 64 yards. A guy who broke his leg and has had bad luck throughout his whole career at SC now is the starter at tight end, and hopefully this leads to a tight end resurgence. As we know, Mark Bowman's coming in next year, so that was cool. Offensive line. Did you the fact that here's the thing about offensive line? You don't even mention offensive line because they did a great job. And when they do a good job, you don't even hear or say or nothing. Like you just say great job, and that's it. Like, they are the guys who, like, when they do their job, you don't notice them at all. And there's besides that one play early where Jaden Mayava was able to escape to the right and throw back and found Mekhi Lemon for a catch. Like, besides that, I mean, they did a great job in full control. Really anchored their blocks, did not let anybody get close to the quarterback, really. I don't know why they didn't blitz more. I mean, you're going to get blown out anyway. Try to be aggressive and maybe get a defensive score. But the way they ran the football, that was working. The way they were able to keep the quarterback, whether it was Longstreet or Jaden Mayava, their jerseys were completely clean the whole game. And again, it should be because you're playing Missouri State. But then again, it's college football, and you could have breakdowns on any play. So I'm not going to give total bail to that situation. But you can have those moments where you end up not becoming you know you can have a situation where you don't play well on the offensive line on a series or a play, and I didn't see much of that at all, which was fun to see, which was good to see. And this year, opposed to last year, where they spent a lot of energy and a lot of drama beating LSU in the first game of the year in Vegas, this is a team where it's kind of a slow build, deep breath, slow build. Every week, the opponent gets better. Each week, the opponent gets bigger and faster. Each week, the USC is going to be tested to get better and better every week. So we'll have to see where that takes SC. But right now, I think they're just this slow build to what we all know is going to be the biggest the big game of the year, the early big game of the year at Illinois, where they have to be 4-0 going into that game. And I think took care of step one, step two, Clay Helton, step three, home game against Michigan, road game against Purdue, and that they got to get that monkey off their back with winning on the road in the Big Ten. Wide receivers, they did try to get Tanu Hines in the end zone. He kind of fell short. Makai Lyman and Jacoby Lane did not score, but everybody else did. So just getting the receivers out there is good. And I think I was in a space last night, and I think the thing about SC, which was nice, was just ending the game at halftime. Like don't let a team that doesn't belong play with you. Just end the game at halftime. And then the fans got a chance to see, some of the walk-ons. You get a chance to see some of the depth guys. They get their feet wet and play. Like it's easier to go to a depth guy when somebody's hurt, when they've had success and played on the field, opposed to when they've been sitting for 5 weeks and then all of a sudden they're thrust into action. You don't want to be thrust into action that way. You just don't. So good job by ending the game at halftime and just having the backups in there and getting everybody a chance to rush the quarterback and getting all those offensive guys to come in. I thought you saw a little bit of Hussein Longstreet, and I think he is decidedly smaller than Jaden Mayava. He really is. He's very, 5'10" could be pushing it. But he does have a little bit of that Kyler Murray stuff in him. Like he can run all over the place. He is, he's fun that way. He can make off script plays, which is going to be one of his things. And they're going to run the ball a lot with him when he does play, because you can't find him. You really cannot find him behind that offensive line. So that is something that's really have to look at as well. Like you cannot find him behind the offensive line and the blockers. He's so elusive. And that was really fun to see him kind of get out there. And he has that little Kyler Murray stuff in him. Like he has that ability. And that's the kind of guy you definitely would like to see take over for Jaden if Jaden's able to hold on to that job and do what he has to do for the entire season, which I think he will be able to do. I have confidence in what I've saw with my own two eyes, and I think like I said, he does have the ability to to just to take command of this offense. And we saw that as well. The defense, I thought the defense made some mistakes early. And then and they also made a mistake on that third down. It's nitpicky, but at the very least, the good thing about it is it happened against Missouri State, and you're not in a big game against Illinois or Iowa or any of these other teams, and you end up losing, a big touchdown play on that. They'll look at it on tape. Dayton will do that. They had a bunch of sacks in this game, all this stuff like that. And I think for the most part, it was something where they had an opportunity to kind of shut the door. They pretty much did for the most part. If USC recovers that fumble, they don't even get that fourth down attempt. I thought the D line did a good job of getting pressure. For the most part, they really did want to win, and they really did want to show that they can get pressure without having to blitz. That was cool in this game. So we did see that that the USC had that ability to get pressure on the quarterback without having to blitz. And you want to start that build right now, and then as the season goes on, in the fourth quarter you're up by 10 against Michigan, and the quarterback's running all over the place. You want to be able to get to him, get him down, get the ball back to your offense so you can run the clock out. There is going to be the one thing you're going to hear a lot of too in this game from fans now, I think, especially when USC has a lead. There's not going to be any real excuse for this USC team not to run the football and run the clock out, because people know this running back room is ridiculously talented. It's really, really talented. So they're going to have to be able to, Lincoln's going to do his thing. It's all good. I'm just saying, they have to be able to show that they can run they got to run the football in these games. They should be a little bit much, but when they start playing good teams, they should be way more balanced than they have been in the past. It's going to be for sure. I know some people have some questions about the defense. People have been hitting me up. I'm talking about the defense, whatever. I listen. They had a couple of miscues in it, but I don't really feel like this was a unit that struggled in this game. They got all the stops. They got tackles for losses. They had sacks in this game. So, good job by them. And like I said, it's all a work in progress, and it's a slow build. We all know what's on their horizon for USC. We just do. We know these games are coming. We know it's going to be tough. We know we have, some really quality opponents coming into the Coliseum, and we know we have some big road games coming up as well. Especially the big 4 road games that I keep talking about. The game against Illinois, the game against Notre Dame, the game against Nebraska, and the game against Oregon. We know that those games are going to be huge. We all know. Every single one of us knows that game is going to be huge. So I think they can continue this. I know people are trying to get on the bandwagon early. I saw Colin Cowherd made a little bit of a declaration for USC already, saying that he grossly underestimated them and all the things like that. We'll see. The biggest thing with SC has always been, for me, has been, can they win late in seasons? And when they win late in seasons, then that's something that we can say, okay, they're winning in November, December. Okay, fine. Now this team can really do it. Can they hold this whole thing together? Be healthy going into these games, and health is a huge thing. Health is one of the biggest things in football, college football, pro football, high school football. When you have a chance to blow somebody out, and you take advantage of that opportunity to blow them out, that's all you need, because then everybody gets a chance to play. Everybody feels part of it, and then you are sitting there in a situation where You can not have to force the issue with some of your star players and the guys who are high on your depth chart as well. So the sack list went to Braylon Shelby had 2 sacks. Cameron Felton had 1. Kennedy Urlacher had 1. Let's see who else we got. We got Jedi Abasari had 1. Let's see. The INT goes to one of the INTs goes to Bishop Fitzgerald. He took that one to the house. And I think we had one more INT, but I don't know. I don't think they have it in here. They don't have it in the stats I have, but they had one. They had one more. They had another INT as well. So, listen, dominant performance. We will dive in. The schedule for the show for the Student Body Right USC podcast will be a instant reaction. But that's what this is. Then we'll dive deeper on Tuesday. And then on Thursday, Coach B will be here, and we will preview the next opponent, which is the Clay Helton, Georgia Southern team that really struggled against Fresno State. I believe they lost 42 to 14. So again, like I said, slowly but surely, the opponents get better, and we'll see what USC does against Georgia Southern here. The next people are texting me, is asking me what's the next game I'm going to go to. I was going to go to the first 2 games, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Michigan State game. That'll be the next game I go to, and you can and everybody who I talked to yesterday was really fun talking to you. I don't know who I look like as far as a former Trojan player, but maybe because I'm a bigger dude, I always get asked, did I play at SC by a bunch of people, and I'm like, I did not. I wish I did, but I did not. But it's always funny when people ask me that. I remember being in Vegas, and this guy I was wearing like a USC polo or whatever. And he was like, "Oh, I'm not going to tell coach you was here." It was years ago when I was younger, and I was like, "Bro, you could tell coach I'm not on the squad. I'm not on the roster, so you don't have to worry about that." Shout out to Ryan Sire as well. If I said that wrong, I'm sorry. The kicker, he was perfect on all his extra points. I wish he would have got a chance to kick a field goal in this game late, maybe, so he can get his feet wet with that. We don't know when Chad's going to come back. Chad Shenton is hurt, so we'll see. We'll see when USC. We'll see when they're able to get him back. Hopefully they get him back soon, because he needs to get used to kicking outside. Like, all his kicks that he missed last year for UNLV were when he was outside. He was perfect inside the Allegiant inside Allegiant Stadium. We don't have those confines here in Los Angeles. So I want him to get into some of these weather games in the Big Ten and be able to do that. So we'll see what happens. All right. So Student Body Right USC podcast, instant reaction to USC's 73-13 victory over Missouri State. The Bears' first game at this level. I'm sure they'll have some great memories of playing in the Coliseum. The program, I think down the road, hopefully their program, it seems like it's going in the right direction. And they'll be able to compete at their level. But today was just USC just dominating, and it was cool to see that the Trojans were able to show their dominance early and often in this ball game, so we don't have to risk injury like in the third and fourth quarters of a team when you're playing a team that basically you are 25 times better than, if you will. All right, see you Tuesday. Fight on, folks.
Field goal. He's going to hand it off to King Miller.